All right, welcome to Your Time, Your Money, the show where your time is just as valuable as your money, and we know that. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're excited. We have a guest speaker in today that I am super excited about. I know you are as well.
Dr. Suzie is my favorite heart doctor.
Yes, yes. Well, and our listeners might be looking at the episode going, why do financial planners have a doctor in the house with them?
The doctor's in, baby.
Yeah, well, we thought it was a good topic to kind of break the mold of finance, because a lot of times we talk about the struggles with finance, about building wealth, but we don't talk about the stress, and I think more importantly today, the medical effects that stress have on your body.
Yeah.
Right.
And we were fortunate enough, we met Dr. Suzie through an American Heart Association event.
I was at the women's event last year, wonderful event, highly attended, highly touted, highly excited.
Yes.
Highly.
Yeah, highly. And we've been anticipating this episode for a while now. So we're going to get started. It's your time.
And it's your money.
So let's start with, just kind of telling a little bit about Dr. Suzie, who she is, and, kind of your certifications and stuff like that. Would you like me to do the bio, or would you like to do a brief bio?
Well, honestly, I hate hearing my own bio. So I'll just say, hi, everyone. I'm Suzie Mookherjee. I'm a cardiologist. And I've met these guys at American Heart Association events and so forth, and they asked me if I would come and talk about stress, and God knows we all have stress. And I thought it would be a great topic because I can tell you, speaking very openly and transparently, I have anxiety about finances. And
it's stressful.
It's very stressful, and they don't teach us this stuff in medical school. And it's funny, if you look, like for doctors especially, there's all these books to read, and there's on the websites, and I'm part of some forums, and everybody's asking each other questions about how to invest. What do we do? What do we do for retirement? Am I doing everything for my kids? And it's just like you can feel the tension and the anxiety. Yeah.
Dr. Suzie, we talk about this a lot. The water cooler talk really hurts a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And it adds a lot of stress to our lives because you might be talking to a respected colleague
that
does it one way
yes.
for whatever particular reason, and then all of a sudden you start doing your financial planning that way and it doesn't work. Because you may not have the same stuff set up as her.
Same goals.
Right?
Same
You might not have an S Corp, or you might not have an LLC, or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
So the water cooler talk and not getting dedicated information from a financial professional adds stress to everybody.
Yeah.
Because now we got to unwind what you've learned, which may be wrong, right? And then try to help you relearn the right thing.
And the problem is, I find that, it's like patients, they hear one page, they have a family member who did it one way, or they had an adverse reaction to a drug.
To Google, and then they go to
Or
Google.
they went to Dr. Google, yes. And that's what we do, because everybody on the web and in doctors' forums, and you're right. Water cooler talk. Wait, who's your person? Wait, what did you do?
Right.
Where did you put money? And it's like, oh my God, I don't know enough about this.
Yeah. And what impressed me the most was, in addition to your accreditation and your schooling, the most important part for me, at least when we first met and we first had a discussion, is how much further you go than just the medical diagnosis.
Right.
And that's your desire, and we've talked about this a little bit, of being more of a person that deals with the issues that affect the body and what's going on in life. And I know you've talked a little bit about some of the conversations you have with people before any surgery, before anything like that. And what impressed me was the questions that you ask. What's going on at home? What's going on with the spouse? Things that you want to get into.
Are you hydrating? Are you exercising, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, right. But, I can give you a great example. Yesterday, I saw a wonderful patient, first time, and we were just talking. This patient was having a lot of heart fluttering and palpitations and very active, and we took a history and other things, my basic cardiac questions that I asked. And I felt there was a little anxiety. So we kept talking and I kept pushing. And I'm like, what else is going on? Because anxiety and stress can definitely make your heart flutter.
Big time.
Can make your blood pressure go up.
Yeah.
And the blood pressure can fluctuate with stress.
The second you walked in here with the white coat, I felt my blood pressure start going up.
Okay,
right?
we got to come back to that, because that's a good thing to talk about.
Where's the blood pressure cuff, Doc?
White coat hypertension. We got to talk about that. But turned out that this person was a professional and may be parting with their partner. And so there was a lot of stress going on.
A divorce.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And, they're both professionals, and what about finances there? And what about the kids? And, and the
Where are we going to live?
Where are we going to live? But that's the life that this patient is leading. And of course it's going to cause stress. Of course it's going to cause anxiety. Yes, your blood pressure is going to go up and down. Yes, you're going to have these flutterings. I mean, I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure it's not a cardiac issue. Because if you have cardiac history in your family, you can't just assume that everything can be blown off. You should not do that.
You got to get checked. You got to have a good relationship.
I got to make sure it's not, But still, how can we ignore what's going on in our day-to-day life with our parents, with our kids, with us aging? Yeah. My anxiety, I'll be very honest, is as I'm getting older, end-of-life care or, am I going, who's going to take care of me? Do I have the money to take care of myself, And a lot of physicians especially, they have a lot of loans.
Right.
They got a lot of money
to pay back. A lot of liabilities, which add stress to the equation.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. Every single person in this universe, I think, has asked themselves about money or has stressed about money. Money is one of the biggest things in couples. Yeah. That's a big issue.
Well, it touches almost every walk of life that you go through, right?
Absolutely.
And we had a Navy SEAL on and talking about handling anxiety and
this
depression.
This too shall pass. Phil Kuntz, love you, buddy.
I think maybe our listeners, need to understand maybe a little bit about what chronic stress is.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe tell us, just a synopsis version of that. But then, what does that do to the person medically? You know what I mean? If they're going through their daily routine and they're worried about like my kid's college bill's coming due and I don't have the money to pay it, or my rent's coming due and I don't have the money to pay it.
Now the feedback loop of how my cortisol levels start to spike, my dopamine starts to drop, adrenaline,
all of that stuff over time can really increase problems in the vascular system, in heart disease. We always talk about the type of personalities, the angry person, the type A person. But I think chronic stress, chronic anxiety can lead to depression.
Absolutely.
And all of these things can also lead to bad habits. And I don't feel like exercising. I don't feel like eating right. I want to grab the quick and dirty, fast food. I have done it myself.
Of course,
I get
we
it.
all have.
Or I crave sugar at night. I do it myself.
Your brain wants that dopamine release.
You want something to make you feel better. And when you're so anxious about your family and their finances and how am I going to make ends meet, your blood pressure is going to go up.
Sure.
Insulin resistance, diabetes, obesity, all of that stuff happens. And the next thing you know, you're getting headaches. And then you might be feeling lightheaded. And then, your heart's pounding. It's a whole thing can come together and just make you feel like crap.
Well, I mean, we talk a lot about self-care and we talk a lot about displacing some of the stress, right? That's why you have a good advisor. That's why you have a good doctor, is that you can displace this stress and trust the professional, right?
Yes.
There's a reason why you're accredited. There's a reason why you're licensed. There's a reason why we're licensed, right? It's because we're good at what we do,
right.
and we've passed the exams we need to pass.
Yeah.
But now as a human being, now you have to really listen to the person you're working with. And I'm guessing a lot of patients, they probably feel like they know more than you. Or they probably tell you what's wrong with them, right? How many times has a patient walked in, I have this issue right now, Dr. Suzie. Can you tell me how to fix it?
Well, or they'll say that, hey, I read this on Google. And, I know. It's kind of fun sometimes because my patients who do a lot of research, they come in, you know?
They have the answer. They're waiting for you to just confirm if they're right.
Yeah. Right. But it's like me going and reading, there's a book out there called, White Coat Investor. A lot of the doctors talk about it. And it's a great book and it helps the basic stuff. But I can't come into you and pretend that I know your field better than you just because I read
we get that a lot. We get that a lot, though.
Because there are a lot of people who do the research and know finance.
The three words I dread on any appointment is I have to digest, I need to do more research, or I've done the research. I'm just, the second I hear that, I'm like, oh.
Well, can I be very honest about something?
Oh, my God.
The other water cooler talk? Well, I don't know if you trust them. Well, I don't know if they're going to take a big part of it. Oh, you don't need this kind of financial advisor. Oh, you have to be careful. There's a lot of also negativity that somehow we're the victim or we may be a victim of someone who's trying to take advantage of us.
Yeah.
So finding a person that you trust is a huge deal.
Well, that's part of our episodes are your coach your money, and we're talking with professional athletes.
Yeah, well, that's
we find that all the time. Is that it's you've got this fame built up, and you're at a level where you don't know who to trust.
Yeah,
right, and then you get referred to somebody through an agent, right, or a signer, and now all of a sudden you've lost $2 million, $3 million, $4 million.
Yeah, overnight.
What happened?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh. It's funny during COVID, a lot of the younger trainees in our cardio, we train residents and fellows to become cardiologists and other specialties at Albany Med. So I was sitting in the office, and all the young fellows, they're way more savvy than I was. They got their Ameritrade. And,
Dr. Suzie, you're the smartest doctor there.
Oh,
Stop selling yourself short.
That's kind. And they got Robinhood, and I'm like, what's that? So we started downloading these apps, and I'm like, all right, let me take like $10, and where should I buy? And that's how, we have our retirement accounts through the hospital, but this kind of stuff really I started learning more about it during COVID because I was watching all the youngins.
Right, and they're buying crypto, they're buying penny stocks. Hey, look at my rate of return.
Stuff, yeah.
But this is where, and I want to ask you a question about patient side.
Okay.
But as a doctor, as you look at it, as a person that's not in the field, you see everyone's wins and you hear about everyone's wins. But what don't you hear about?
Just like the casino, the losses.
You don't hear about how much I lost at the casino the last 10 times. You only hear about how much I won.
Well, it's amazing because sometimes what we'll find is a lot of the people that have successes on certain parts of their portfolio, they have a lot of stress about their other sides of the portfolio because they've made poor decisions and they've been like, wow, that wasn't the best one at the time, and they end up losing money. And then when you run out a year or two, they're on par returns or average returns. You know what I mean? But taking more risk than they have to.
Talk a little bit about a common denominator for any patient that you might see. Some things that I know people experience stress, but like what's like an indicator for you right away where you're like you need to make sure you go see a doctor about a heart issue, right? Give me something that you see a patient. And sometimes it's a common thing that may not affect people, but I always like to know from a doctor's perspective, when should I go to a doctor? If something's wrong with me as a person, right?
It's interesting because I think everybody should see everybody should have a primary doctor and see them at least yearly. Remember, I'm a cardiologist, so the types of patients, I'm a specialist, so in the heart. And so most of the patients I see are either self-referred because they're scared.
Right.
Or they get sent to me.
They had
an incident, or they have really significant family history. Their mother or their father had a stroke really young, had an early heart attack. A lot of people get sent to me from primary doctors. So what are the things I see? Like, for example, chest pain. I've been having a lot of chest pain, and then I'll start to tease out, okay, you're having chest pain. Are you having it just sitting here? Are you having it every time you walk to the car, every time you go up the stairs? Do you have it at the gym? Do you go to the gym, Or, my blood pressure is really high and my primary doctor wants to add another drug and I wasn't sure I needed to do it because there are a lot of people who are resistant to wanting to take meds. Right. So I'll see those patients. I may see a patient, obviously like the one yesterday. My heart flutters. I don't know, I feel it for a few seconds. I'm sitting at work and I just feel it. And then I'll say, do you get short of breath with it? Do you feel chest pain with it? People passed out. I got up in the middle of the night. I had a patient who had a really bad leg cramp. Got up, passed out. What's that about? Is that something wrong with my heart?
Sure.
There's so many different things. And people want to rule out heart disease for anything that could happen. Sometimes I'm like, I'm a heart doctor. That's not my specialty. But when people aren't sure, it never hurts to find out and to ask. Sure. And in family history, guys, I really want to push that. If you have family history, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters if you're healthy and you're going to the gym and you're not smoking.
Eat healthy, you go to the gym,
don't smoke.
You could still have issues.
Let me tell you something. Family history can trump a lot of things, all right? So you could be the vegan and the plant-based diet and the person who runs marathons and still have heart disease and have a heart attack.
You see it all the time where non-smokers get lung cancer.
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't smoked a cigarette my whole life. I got lung cancer.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel fair,
So if in doubt, check it out.
Yeah, if in doubt. Oh, I like that. If in doubt. Well, here's my deal.
You just come up with that?
Yeah.
You're no way.
I did.
Mark was up at about 2 o'clock last night. Like, I gotta think of a catchphrase for Dr. Suzie.
No, just
he
listening.
Was up late. Buyers are saying yes. Yeah, it's like
listening to Dr. Suzie. For me, you boil it down to something simple. Is if you are in doubt, you should be seeing a professional.
Check it out. I like that actually.
Let's zoom out there, right? This is true for everything.
Yeah.
It's true for financial advice, for a realtor, for a bank loan, for a doctor. Right?
Yeah. We can't always assume that we have the answer. And a lot of us, I think, feel that we can control everything.
Right.
And maybe we can't. My deal, my little phrase is, I want to prevent an event. I can always see you after your heart attack or after your stent or after your bypass.
But now we got a bigger problem.
Yeah, I want to prevent it from happening in the first place. And there are things that, rear their head where we're like, ooh, if you have high blood pressure that's not controlled, that's not good for you. If you're a diabetic, you better make sure you're on the right medications. Diabetes is something that really affects the heart. If you are a smoker, You don't even want to get me started.
Well, I want your sorry, go ahead. You want to?
I was going to say, well, people handle stress differently too.
Yeah.
Some people are a little bit more physically aware of their body, and if they get into a high stress situation, they can take a deep breath, they can slow their heart rate down purposely,
right,
and get through it. But then other people, you throw them in a public speaking situation,
they're sweating, they got the cold sweats, they can't see.
You see their vein pulsing on their side of their head.
I think the people, Mark, that you say can actually take a moment and be like, all right, let's take a deep breath in and just slow our breathing. And that's great, but so many of us, it's so hard to do that. Meditation is phenomenal for that kind of stuff.
I'm surprised you don't have an Apple Watch.
No, I don't have an Apple
Watch. So the Apple Watch changed my life, right? Well, I'm not going to endorse Apple here,
Obviously,
right?
You're wearing it today.
It's on the charger right now. It's charging. Because I almost killed it. Because you know why? Because I do meditation every hour.
Oh, good for you.
There's a 5-minute app on your watch.
Good for you.
Where sometimes, me and Mark push each other pretty hard in the office here. So I'll do an appointment, then he'll do an appointment, then I'll do it. Right?
Sounds like he's a little bit more stressed about this than I am.
I get very worked up because I'm a winner. I like to win, right? So sometimes I just have to stop. And there's a cool little app where it forces you to stop and breathe.
That's amazing. That's
great.
It's
just because a lot of us, when we sit around, we take shallow breathing, right?
Yeah.
So, right, rather than.
We should take deep breaths like we're going to sing,
right?
Really
all
take
the way
a
deep into your diaphragm.
Yeah, none of us breathe that way.
I wanted you to weigh in quickly on some of the youth issues in our current society, vaping and obesity in youth because of lack of participation in sports and or athletic things. Yeah. You probably see a lot of that as a doctor. I just, for our generational listeners that are listening, talk to your grandkids, talk to your kids.
Absolutely.
We need our youth to be active because otherwise we're going to be running into these issues way sooner than the 50s and the 60s.
Well, whenever I see patients who are older who have these problems, they're sometimes accompanied by their kids or their grandkids, and I'll always say, okay, we talked about mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. So guess what? This is your genetics.
It's going to trickle down.
So you better check your blood pressure, check your cholesterol, and do that. Just to go back to what you said about stress again and how people, meditation is awesome if you can do it. I know how to do it. It's hard to do. And a lot of my patients who come with me smoking, smoking is also a crutch. Like that's the way they relax.
Right.
And I understand that.
It's my 5-minute getaway.
It's your getaway. It makes you calm down. So I'm just like, well, how about we find a different way that's not going to eventually kill you?
Maybe it's stretching, right? Maybe it's some type of stretch. Maybe it's some type of exercise, right? Breathing. Yeah.
Something. But you have to give them something different. Because if smoking is what they need to do, then they need to find another outlet, and that's hard.
So we have a call-in question from our videographer,
our desk
from our desk jockey.
Yeah.
Why is it so many doctors and nurses are on smoke breaks? Why do they smoke so much if it's so bad and they know it's bad? So I guess
because smoking is an addiction for many people.
There we go. It's the truth right there.
Yeah.
But it's also, look, it's like the financial advisors that are out there, and there's a lot that don't save their own money.
Right.
And they get to a point where they're not financially set. You know what I mean? You think
you focus on somebody else for so long, you forget about yourself.
Right. It's like, what do they say? The contractor's home is never done.
Oh my God, that's a great statement. Another great statement from Mark. You were up late last night. You were up late last night.
I have show prep done. What can I say?
I have to say, it's hard to go and see a doctor who smokes. I can't imagine, or a nurse that smokes. But I have to tell you, again, people use it as a stress reliever.
Yeah.
And so
just like gambling or just like eating.
We all know. I shouldn't eat sugar at night. I do things. I don't have the best diet all the time, and I know that. And I know what needs to be done. But I think Mark, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as much as, smoking, in the world of a cardiologist is the most hideous thing for us and your heart, at the same token, we have to have compassion for those people who I think they need it so badly because it's an addiction. It's one of the hardest things to quit.
Well, in the medical, in the medical field, like if we mess up with somebody's accounts, they lose a couple thousand. But it comes back with the market, right?
Right.
In the medical field, when you mess up, it's a lifetime. I mean, in certain scenarios, it could be that person on that table that's no longer here.
One of the best entry points I have, sidebar on that question, one of the best entry points I have when talking to a doctor, what's the most recent lawsuit you're part of? Right? Like that, then I just shut up. I'm just
boy, that's a scary question.
And I just watch and I'm like, I see their eyeballs start this thing like slot machines, right? And then they just go, right? Because you guys get sued constantly.
People are going to die no matter what we do.
Right.
That's what we're all, unfortunately that's something that's fact. And we do what we can to try to, mitigate risk and try to, prolong our life in the best healthy way that we can, But I think, I had a patient, today. She wanted to know what her chest X-ray had shown and all this, and she had some other issues in a CAT scan. And I said, from the heart standpoint, blah blah blah. But they did see some chronic changes because of smoking history. And she said, but I quit smoking 10 years ago, but you smoked for 30 years.
And that's why it's
you can't just
now.
undo it. So like you said, a lot of the habits that we have from youth are going to affect. The blockages we see in the pipes don't start at 50. They start in their teens, late teens. And if you're a heavy teen or a diabetic teen, and if you have that family history, no matter how healthy you are. I have some medical students. I gave a talk to medical students this morning. And, there are some who's come and see me. They run, they exercise, they're fit.
And they got blockages.
But they have, but they have high blood pressure.
High blood pressure.
And they don't understand why. And then we take a family history and we're like, okay, this is why. And they're in their 20s and on meds because they're doing the lifestyle. Now, the big thing here, though, I have to say, lifestyle modification is big. What does that mean? Exercise, eat healthy, keep your weight down, and so forth. That's easy to say. It's so hard to do. Weight loss is so hard.
To not after a 12-hour day and you're grinding and you're tired to not go home and have a glass of wine. To take the edge off.
Or to eat the thing, or to go to the drive-thru.
Or to have a burrito, right?
Yeah, because you don't have to get out of the car to go get it.
Well, that's where I do love, there's a lot of registered dietitians out there that have already made the statement that people are, their relationship is poor with food. Right, and that happens for a lot of athletes. As soon as they get done playing, Well,
I think a lot of that's the go-go society where
I'm going to get a quick burger.
People don't prep it, and they,
So prep, right? Yeah. So you got to have time to prep. Like I want to say, okay, on Sunday I'm going to prep little meals for the whole week, and then Sunday I might be doing something. I'm exhausted, so I know.
And I don't want to cook for 7 hours.
It's so hard, and I really admire my patients who are on top of it. They prep, they do this, they're up.
But then the other side of it always says like, I eat healthy for 20 years, and then I get hit by a bus, right? And I'm dead, it's like, I didn't cheat at all, I didn't have any fun, and then I get hit by a bus.
Well, and finance, finance is more of a mental stress.
It is a mental stress,
right? And I'll bring up an article that I prepped for the show just because I prepped it for the show. Yeah. But
another 2 a.m.
The Journal of American Medical Association, which I like to say JAMA.
Yeah.
I don't know
JAMA.
what that. Oh, that really?
It
is
JAMA.
I thought I was calling it on myself.
No, it's JAMA.
That's excellent. So in November of last year, they did a study of 918 participants, average age of 60, 1/3 women, 40% African American, and what they did is they gave them 2 minutes to prep for a public speaking engagement.
Oh boy.
Yeah, which most people can't do. And they found that people with mental stress were 2 times more likely to have a heart attack or heart failure than those without it.
Pretty cool
and then
study.
You combine that with physical stress, they were 4 times more likely to have a heart attack or heart failure.
How many people were in the experiment?
918. I'm
a scientist too.
Yeah,
and that but that wears on people, and I think it's good for listeners to understand that our investors is that sometimes you don't necessarily realize that it's weighing on you.
Right, and you think you have it under control,
and you think you have it under control, and sometimes you bring it to bed with you, and that makes you toss and turn, and you don't get a good night's
I got
sleep.
more phone calls in the 2021, 2022 era from people who were all set and they had done the research than ever in my life.
I bet.
And why? Why did those phone calls come in? Well, if you look at those 2 years,
market drop,
huge market drops where we're not getting consistent returns year over year. And now all of a sudden it's, okay, I need to make decisions and I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where Dr. Suzie said it perfect. We'll continue to say it. You should have a primary. You should have a primary financial advisor.
Absolutely.
You should have a primary doctor that you can be honest with and actually have a conversation with. I love talking to my doctor. Dr. Dan used to be on the radio, 106.5. He used to do the Dr. Dan, and I forget what the other guy's name was.
Oh, how
but
fun.
Dr. Dan Arinos, the guy's the man. I love him, right? Like, you can actually talk to him and be like, he'll say, well, what are you doing? Are you drinking too much? Are you eating too much? What do you need help with?
I got to add one thing because we brought up sleep and poor sleep.
Yeah, sleep and hydration, right?
Sleep and hydration, but there's something also called sleep apnea.
Oh, yeah.
So that also can affect the heart. That can affect your blood pressure. That can cause palpitations. So if you're, not eating healthy, if you snore a lot at night, you should really get a sleep study and get it checked out because that's something that needs to be addressed.
I heard the new CPAP machine is actually really cool. Like, it just goes right in your nose.
Yeah, they have all these.
Who told me that?
They have all these different things.
Oh yeah, I heard the little things that go in your nose, and it's not like this Darth Vader mask. Like,
I know a lot of people hate it. And some people swear by it. They won't even take a nap without it. They feel so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just I think, with money and anxiety, I mean, I can speak again personally, trying to get my parents are in their 80s and 90s, and getting their financial stuff together, and who's going to do that, and what have they done, and what have they put aside, and what am I doing? Do I need to prepare? It's
the all set generation. I'm all set. I have a will. It's all set.
No, it's not.
Right? Do you have TODs on your bank? Right? Do you have beneficiaries?
We recently did a generational planning webinar.
That was great.
And part of that is getting the 2 generations or 3 generations to
together
to specifically, because it's the hustle and bustle of life. It's the hey, they're my parents. They've got to be all set.
Nobody wants to talk about death.
I don't want to think about my parents being dead.
And the younger generation doesn't want their parents thinking like, "Oh, I want money now."
Right.
And that anxiety and that tension,
but listen,
doesn't help
with
either
chronic
side.
Disease, chronic diabetes, chronic hypertension, if you end up having chronic issues in life, you're going to need money set up, and who's going to take care of me?
Right.
Home care. My mom has dementia. And so, we have people who come in the house and help, but that costs money.
Yeah, it's not free.
It's not free. And not all insurances give you insurance. I mean, money for that kind of stuff. So that's the thing. Financially, that's what I think about all the time, guys. Like, okay, so wait a second. How much longer am I going to work? And
how much of an effect am I going to have on my kids when I can't?
Oh yeah, and I'm an auntie.
Shopping.
So here's the other thing. I don't have children. I have nieces and nephews, but I don't want to be a burden on my siblings.
Right.
And I don't want to be a financial burden on my nieces and nephews or anything. So what can I do now to prepare myself? So yes, even though you may have a job that seems very stable and good income, I think it doesn't matter how much you make or how little you make. You're always going to worry about, am I doing what's right? Am I doing the right thing? And that is very anxiety provoking, guys, financially, all the time.
And the crazy part is, the truth of this is every great relationship I've ever created, and I know, Mark, you probably feel the same way, has come from a trusted source. So someone refers you, right? So a friend of a friend refers you to someone that, and they swear by it.
Or an in-person experience.
Or we have a seminar, right? And I guess the same thing would be true for you, right? Like if you meet a client or you're out at a mixer and then someone starts talking to you, they're going to know right away that you're knowledgeable because you're talking about all these things that make sense, right? I wanted to ask you too, I didn't get to talk to you at the Heart Association event. What are some of your fun hobbies? What do you love to do? I love to get into D&D. I love tabletop games, right?
I love ping pong. I always did.
You love ping pong, racket games.
Now, see, the thing is, if I say to you what I love to do, it's what I loved to do. Because anybody who knows me now,
time is all absorbed.
No, well, now they're gonna be like, she doesn't do that. Why is she saying she does that? She doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. I used to love to read. Sometimes I got to be honest, guys. My downtime is Netflix. Sometimes I love
what show are you on? What show are you watching right now?
I love crazy intense stuff. All right, whatever's.
Have you seen
crime stuff.
Leave the World Behind yet with Julia Roberts?
No, is that good?
Oh, it's phenomenal.
I gotta write that down.
Leave the World Behind.
I gotta write that down.
Blow your mind. Loved it.
But now lately I read a lot about mental health and stuff.
Sure.
And so I started a little site. I'm a life coach. I did do some hobby work on life coaching.
I like that. That's awesome.
Well, because it's not just about medicine and pipes and it's
about
the stress.
That's why
it's
we
about
do
the
this.
anxiety.
That's why we do this. This is almost our life coaching for people that are out there that are looking for an advisor or just want some knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the whole point of this show.
Sometimes it's
we're not getting paid to do
going
this.
Into an office.
We're doing this for free. We're doing this on our own time and your time.
It's
we
just fun.
Educate,
Your time and your money.
And motivate.
Well, the other thing is why
your time
can't
is just as valuable
as
your money.
They're making fun of the way he's
not valuable.
I think you
I can't wear the right shirt. I always forget my shirt.
No.
So.
I just think that it's nice to be down to earth. See, these guys are
having
so much fun in here.
Fires just realized.
I didn't just realize.
Oh, shut up. Yes, you did.
No, I just think it's nice to be able to talk real.
Yeah,
and not always have to be at a level of, let me use financial terms, let me use medical terms.
I'm going to use all these medical jargon terms.
I don't think like
the
that.
hell out of you. Right?
So couple quick questions as we close is, for our listeners out there, what are maybe some resources that they can research or look into to kind of cope with stress or hard? Do you have any books that you like or any resources?
There's so many different, books. I'm a big...
Try to whittle it down to two.
I can't. There's so many great books. Heart.org, American Heart Association.
Okay.
Google American Heart Association, heart.org, and just look and ask questions. There's so many things on blood pressure, exercise, diabetes, weight, tobacco cessation. Don't smoke. If any of you guys guys are out there, if you're diabetic, make sure your diabetes is well controlled. If you don't know if it is, go find out.
Just weigh in on vaping for me. Just for a minute.
Vaping is...
Just give me
guys,
your 30-second takeaway on how terrible it is.
It's one of the worst things you could ever do. And in fact, the younger students who are vaping, they're doing irreparable damage to their lung.
But it smells like cherry.
And that's the thing. So in the very beginning, I don't think any of us really knew how evil it was. It is downright evil. Is that what you want me to say? Because that's the truth.
This is coming from a cardiologist.
Oh my
God. The best cardiologist.
Well, I don't know about that, but
the best, the world renowned.
That is not true, guys. Please don't. Okay.
I believe it to be true.
So that's kind. No, we don't embellish. No. That's nice of you. But vaping without, who knew?
How bad it is.
The American Heart Association did a whole thing. We were so vaping is one of the worst things you can do, and what's so scary about it is that kids can do it with the tie and their hoodie, USB drives that look
USB drives, yeah.
It's toxic and it's evil to the lungs. And there's nothing good about it. Okay. Nothing. Okay? It's not better than nicotine. None of that is true.
This is coming from a doctor. For our listeners that are watching and your kids or grandkids, are doing this in front of you. You can now fast forward to this part of the episode and let a doctor come.
It's not like, okay, well, they're not drinking, they're not doing other hard drugs. No, they are.
Adults are doing it too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, 16 to 22-year-olds are doing it the most, but the next generation doing it after that is 40-year-olds.
But a lot of people think it's better than smoking cigarettes. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's bad. It's just as bad.
Now, if listeners have had a family member maybe pass away or things like that, what are maybe some charities that you think is they can donate to, that we can get out there, that maybe they can I know we do the American Heart Association.
Yes.
I think you're on the regional board of that.
Yeah.
But what other charities maybe locally or internationally that you like to see maybe donations towards?
Well, I can always say, we I can say from my own work at Albany Med, we always, we're a teaching hospital. We have a medical school. So there's always a lot of things that, we need to help teach our young doctors to become cardiologists.
Reinvesting in your own infrastructure.
In teaching them. Because, education, unfortunately, as we all know, is very expensive. So if you ever want to donate to my fellowship, to the students, please feel free.
What is that called?
Oh, that's just, you'll have to find Albany Med. Yeah.
We can post it on the...
You can? There's a wellness fund for cardiology fellowship wellness. So these are young doctors who are trying to become cardiologists, who are becoming cardiologists, and we have a fund for them to help them out with their education and going to conferences and books and board reviews and boards and all that.
Okay.
But the other thing is, I think donations, to be honest, I mean, you asked me, so I said that, but I think donations are very personal, and I think it depends what the mode. If your loved one died or they had a passion for something or someone or an institution, my mother-in-law recently just passed away, and she was one of the most amazing humans I've ever known. Yeah. And she was very much a part of Hamilton College. So when people ask me about her, I say Hamilton College because it was personal to the family and it's personal to her, and she loved it. So I think donations should be made when it feels right. What is something that the person that you love, what did they love? And if they died from leukemia, lymphoma, cancer, I can't say just give to us. I give to whoever makes you feel like, what, I'm making an investment and trying to make this better.
You're making a difference.
Yeah. You're making a difference, and that could be to anyone.
What's cool is that last week we got on the radio. It came in on a Friday morning, and it happened just so weird and naturally that they were doing a Ronald McDonald House on the radio, and all of a sudden the energy in this place went nuts.
Yeah.
And we got on the radio, and we were talking, and all of a sudden everyone's singing, and Hulkamania
came on. And then
it
became a competition.
Other advisors called in, so we'll tag that.
There's St. Jude's, little kids.
Thing that you do for your fellowship. What's the name of it?
Oh, I just call it the Cardiology Fellowship Wellness Fund, and that's through Albany Medical Center.
All right.
But again, that's very kind of you. But I really want to say, I think that kind of stuff is so personal to what matters to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And St. Jude's is a wonderful organization. Anything for children.
Yeah. Sure.
There's so many wonderful
House
things.
Is a great
Ronald
one.
McDonald
St.
House.
Jude's is great.
Yeah,
well, thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate your time.
I am so honored that you guys asked me to come. This was amazing for me. I love it.
My
Thank
blood pressure
you.
real quick?
Let me just check. I can't check his pressure, but I can check his pulse.
Pulse. Their hands are so cold. Yes.
Hold hands, warm heart.
So thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you.
You can reach the Esley Group at 43 British American Boulevard in Latham, New York, 12110. You can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. Please subscribe and share. We'd love to get some more comments of shows and suggestions that you'd like us to do. And as always, it's your time.
And your money.